Hi, this is Joe with domainacademy.com, and today I wanted to look at a deep dive into a name currently on auction for $5, koalas.co. I wanted to discuss this because animal names are typically very good for brands, and they're usually pretty popular. So how did this name make it all the way through our normal auction and now wind up going through every day of the Dutch auction down to the last day? Now it's at $5. So why didn't anyone want to buy this? Let's take a look at that. And I think this would be a great opportunity for you to learn, what sounds good versus what is good. Because on the surface, koalas.co sounds like a decent brandable name. So I'm going to take a look at our research snapshot. This pulls together a lot of different data into one place, and it's free for anyone with Domain Academy. You get to use it 150 times per month. And let's look at some of the data that it pulled. It shows that there's a decent amount of search volume for koalas, and that this is exact, and the broad search is even bigger. When I did look at Google Ads for this, you could see that there are some. Let's just change that real quick. Koala facts, but there's no ads, and you can see that most of this is talking about the animal itself. And this brings up a good point, and it's one of the first points I want to make. When we talk in the class through our training, the formal training that you can get at domainacademy.com, we talk about the difference between singular and plural. And one of the differences that we point out is with singular, it's typically a brandable type name, and with plural, it's typically the product itself. So it's koalas would be like you're only writing about koalas, or if you're going to sell something, like you were selling koalas. But koala would make a good brand. You don't necessarily expect to go to koala.co and find people selling koalas. It could be any kind of brand that people use. So the difference between that S or no S, one letter, makes a big difference in the value of a name. If this was koala.co, I can guarantee that it would have already sold before it hit the closeouts. One of the other things that we look at is character count. We look at how many names are registered. It passes a lot of these. It's got a decent amount of names that are registered, and we'll take a look at those in depth in a minute. It's a short name. It's memorable. It passes the radio test. There's a lot of things going for it, right? It's been registered for 11 years. And when you look at this, there's 121 companies that are using this. There's 6 Crunchbase companies, which I have up, and the valuations are, around $1,500 on the automated appraisals. So when we look at this, you can see that these are those 7 startups, and you can see it. Do any of them seem like candidates that might want to upgrade to just a short, memorable name like koalas? And there's maybe a couple in here, but it's not that many. And when we look at the taken names, this is helpful, but it's not a huge amount, which again goes back to the fact that koalas really denotes a site that's going to talk about koalas as the animal rather than as a brand. And we look at what's for sale. You can see there's a few that are exactly koalas, right? We've got this one that we're looking at today, the .net. Someone's been trying to sell for $500. It looks like the XYZ is $1,000, and you can see that the org and com are quite a bit more, but it shows me that the com isn't in use. So if somebody wanted to come along and start a business with koalas, they have the choice to buy the com right now. Or if they want to use an alternative extension, there are quite a number of other names that are available that they can easily purchase, right? So let's look at another tool that we have, and we'll dig into a little bit more of the TLDs that are taken in this SLD of koalas. So we already saw that there was 58 in the tool, but this breaks it down a little bit more. It shows you what names are at a glance being used, what names don't resolve, show an error page, and what names are parked. Now this is just a guess that the software does. It goes through them and tries to take a guess. It's not always 100% right. For instance, these parked pages are typically for sale or have ads, and we know that com and org are for sale right now. So that shows us, that there's a little bit less than half of these names that aren't even being used, really, or trying to be resold. So we've got some names up here that are probably in use. You could take a look at them. So let's take a look at the Australian one. So that seems to be a better fit. Here you go. You can see that this one is actually in use, but it's coming soon, so we don't know how long it's going to be before they bring that up, or what they're going to do with it exactly. So you can see the reason why we want to look at this is because you want to see who's potentially using the names, and if they're using them, then you don't have the opportunity as a new business coming in or one who wants to shorten their address to take some of these that are already being used, because it's usually the case that if someone is using a name, they're unwilling to sell it or sell it cheaply to do a complete rebrand. So that's what we're looking at. What are the alternatives? And that's what we're going to look at further with these 1,000 names. Who could upgrade, right? But just because it contains koalas like this one does, it's koala shop. It's not koalas shop. So these 18 really aren't going to benefit from an upgrade. And the same thing with this koala studio. It contains koalas, but it's not really koalas. It's koala studio. So you can see that many of these, right? Koala soft, koala sleep, koala store, they're all not really eligible for upgrading to koalas. Comfy koalas maybe. So you can take a look at that. And you can take a look down here and see that there's not that many that would want to upgrade. So again, this shows us that there's less value in the plural than there is in the singular for several reasons, right? Like we talked about, the brand is typically going to be a singular, and talking about koalas themselves is going to be a plural. And this kind of shows that, you know, in actual commerce and in play here. So when we look at some of these things together, we can see that koalas would on the surface appear to be a solid name, but it's gone through all these phases and wound up at $5 because there's some that are already for sale, right? We have those Com and let me find it, the Com and Oregon VIP and Biz, they're all already for sale and nobody's buying those. And we can see that there's not that many startups that are using it that would want to use koalas, and that the TLDs that are taken, they're not really the kind of TLDs that people would want to upgrade to koalas.co, right? They would want to stay with their own company that they already are using, or on some of these names that we just looked at, they're not using koalas. So it's really limited upside on who you're going to sell this to. It gives you a lot less potential buyers, and that's why it's made it to the $5 closeout price. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, ask them in the comments. We try and help out anyone we can. Thank you.